Ramiro.
Christine Soutter?
Yeah, Soutter.
Soutter. I always...
That's okay. Well, because it's like my interim name. It's my maiden name, but everyone knows me by Swow. But Swow's not my name anymore, really.
What? Can I tell you how I met Christine? This is crazy.
Please, yeah, I would love to know.
Christine is here to talk about the Why Not Devin Foundation, Devin's Dash, all that stuff. But do you remember when we first met?
Of course.
Yeah. So it was this random weekend. I was at the park with my wife and kids, and we live in Shrewsbury, and they had it was like a playground, and there was like a little, what's the word? You know, like when you go
fair.
What?
Like a little fair, like a little.
Yeah, but no. At the you know, like when you go to Starbucks and there's like the little billboard with all the little ads and everything. It was like an ad for the fair.
Oh yeah.
And the date was wrong. I remember that, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, wait a minute. There was just something wrong with the dates where I was looking at it, and I said, Nicole, this is either just happened and it's over, or it's something that's happening right now. We should go check it out to see if it's happening. So we drove over, and it was still happening. And so we were walking through, and it was just like a regular, like little fair with like, you know, games for kids and food and vendors and all that stuff. And we were walking through, and we end up seeing this one vendor who was selling a ton of bee merchandise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was bee merchandise, just like bees, you know, buzz. So Nicole was like, so you know about my ex-wife, she passed away now, but at the time she was alive, and she had cancer, brain cancer. And she had this thing with bees. She loved bees. She would like do shirts with bees and all. She just always loved bees. So Nicole was like, "Oh, we should probably get something from Sandy here. She'd probably like it." I said, "All right, cool." So she went over, and my wife has this like, she could start a conversation with a rock. I swear to God.
Yeah, she's a very magnetic personality.
Yeah, I don't know.
She's amazing.
Which one of you started talking first, but I just went over. I just remember I took one of the kids to go get like something at a food truck or something. And I come back, and these two are like just chatting away, best friends, all that stuff. And that's how we first.
Well, even like crazier though. Well, first of all, your wife's amazing that she's looking and wanting to get things for your ex-wife with your two young children, right? Yeah. Like, and then, so we exchange information, and they walk away, and I have no idea Ramiro is Ramiro. And then I look to connect with you on social media or whatever. And I was like, oh my God, I've listened to him since I was younger and never knew. Like, we had no idea, but we just had this connection, and Nicole is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that's how we met.
The funny thing, well, because I don't think I might have said, nice to meet you. Literally. That was me. Because they were just with each other. I remember you said, I feel like, how did you word it? You said, sometimes I feel like things are meant to be.
Well, that was the name of my company.
Yeah, meant to be. And you were like, I feel like we were meant to meet.
Yeah.
And it's funny when you were saying that, in my head, I'm like, maybe we were, because the odds that we're here right now.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, we were, like I said, we were at a playground. I just happened to see this flyer. That's the word I was looking for. And I said, well, let's check it out to see if it's still happening, have something to do with the kids. And we made our way over and met you.
And that's the only time I was ever there. I'd never gone to that fair. I've never gone back to that fair. Yeah.
That's literally the only time we've been there too.
Yeah.
That's so
weird.
Crazy.
Yeah. But meant to be.
It is meant to be. Agreed. Is that why did you name Meant to Be? Why did you name your company
that? I started that company like a little bit after Devin died, and because I believe everything's meant to be. Mm-hmm. And as hard as that journey, like my journey's been, like I feel like it's meant to be for whatever reason. And so the merchandise that I had was very inspirational, like t-shirts that have inspiration, trust your journey, things like that. But also Devin, we think of as a bee. His funeral, which we'll get into all this, but his funeral, which was at the end of October, there were bees everywhere, and every one of his friends, family, whatever, got stung by bees. And then there's a lot of parallels with bees and the number 6, and which Devin was 6, and all these like crazy things. So meant to be just kind of flowed. I don't know.
So it was January of 2017
when he was diagnosed.
Yeah. And what was it that happened?
So he's my youngest of 4 boys, and they're all super active, athletic, crazy. I say now I'm the RA of a frat house. But we're a big ski and snowboard family. And so we were at Ward Hill in Shrewsbury.
Yeah.
I took them there every Friday night for lessons, and he was 6, and so had a private instructor, and he fell, and we thought he got a concussion. And this probably sounds terrible, but he's my 4th boy, so I was like, okay, it's a concussion. We've had many from sports, and we hung out during the weekend, just kind of chilled out. Monday, I took him to his pediatrician. He seemed goofy and fine, and she's like, I think he's fine, you can send him to school tomorrow. And so Tuesday he went to school. I was training for my first marathon, which was for the Susan G. Komen Foundation, and I ran 16 miles, got home, hadn't showered, and my second oldest son called me from the bus and said, Devin's throwing up, and the bus driver wanted me to call you and tell you on the way home. So we got off the bus, I scooped him up, put him in the car. We went to our local Framingham hospital. And then within a couple of hours, we're en route to Children's by ambulance. And we're met with a team who did a lot more testing. And around probably 8 the next morning, we met with a team of several doctors, neuro-oncologists, surgeons, whatever, who basically said, your son has DIPG, which is diffuse intrinsic pontine glioma. And it's not curable, survivable, or treatable. And he has 8 months to 2 years to live if you're lucky. And so it went from a concussion to all of a sudden that diagnosis.
So they didn't do any type of treatment for it or anything either?
So I am not a person who would just sit back and be like, okay, this is what the story is. And they were doing biopsies at that time, but it wasn't a recommended surgery or procedure.
Yeah.
But my thought was, and I have no medical background, how do you treat something that you don't know what it is? So we opted to do the biopsy. He did great. We found out what the mutation was. And from there, they said, okay, look at trials.gov and find a trial that you think might be applicable out of, 10,000 trials that are from, a hurt toe that you can't figure out to brain cancer. And we ultimately went to London for treatment.
Really?
Yeah, there wasn't anything here that was applicable. There was one at St. Jude's, but they already knew that trial wasn't working.
Yeah.
And so, so we went to London and had this procedure that was originally created for Parkinson's, where they put 2 catheters in through the front of his brain, 2 into the back, into the tumor, and it didn't work.
What were they trying to like pump medicine directly?
Chemo, yeah.
Wow.
It's crazy. DIPG is like a crazy cancer. Yeah. Neil Armstrong's daughter died of it 2 years before he walked on the moon.
Really?
Uh-huh. And now we can, all this amazing space travel, and not one kid can survive this. It's in the pond, so it's hard to get to. Mm-hmm. And so, they administered chemo. They could see that it was in there, but it didn't touch the tumor.
So if he didn't fall at the ski place and you didn't take him in, what did they say, like at what point you would have realized that he was sick?
I think it would have happened quickly. I think at that point the tumor had grown just a little bit, that it was throwing his gait off.
Yeah.
And he kept saying to me, there was nothing prior, like nothing that I would have realized, but he kept saying, my leg is funny. My leg feels funny. And he would like shake his leg, but he was a character. Like he was hysterical. He was a character. He was never going to be the 4th who like no one knew who he was. Like he wanted to make his presence known. So I just thought he was being silly. And then he started throwing up like while we were in the hospital. So I think it would have happened really quickly. The saving grace was that was a Friday night. We didn't go to the hospital till Tuesday. And so we had Saturday, Sunday to just not know.
Yeah. And then, so after that, it was just in and out of hospitals the entire time?
Yeah. We went to London, I think 6 times. We would go to Children's, but didn't really have a team there because he wasn't treated there. So it was kind of difficult. But our community came together in the biggest way. And I will tell you, over 8 months and 3 weeks, which is how long he survived, we made the most amazing memories. We traveled. We had, while doing treatment, he did radiation twice. And we had the Celtics, the Red Sox, the Bruins, the Patriots, who embraced my child and my other child, the Revs, and did so much for all of them. Like, my kids have memories that will last them a lifetime that were created in that 8 months and 3 weeks.
Wow.
It's crazy.
And how did everybody else in the family take it?
Well, it was, I'm like eternal optimistic. And, so we brought Devin home actually on my oldest son, Colin's birthday. He was in 7th grade, and everyone else knew, but my kids did not know, because I was like, I'm not bringing him home and ruining Colin's birthday. Mm-hmm. So all of our family, friends, everyone came, Colin thought, for his birthday, which was amazing because we had a house full of like 50 people. And I looked at Devin, who crawled up next to Colin, and we sang happy birthday to him, which was honestly one of the hardest things I've ever had to do in my life, after just being told that Devin wouldn't see a next birthday likely. So we enjoyed that time together. And then a couple days later, we took them, we spent lots of time at Trader Joe's because I could bring them all in there. They used to have a lobster that you could hide, and they would go find it. I would shop. They gave out samples of wine and food. It was amazing. Yeah. We were there often. And we actually told them in the Trader Joe's parking lot. So Devin was not with us. He was home with one of my aunts, and we told the boys there was a rock in Devin's head that shouldn't be there. And we were going to do everything we could to get it out. And my oldest son asked, is he going to die? Which I thought was a crazy first question, that his brain would go there.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, we're going to do everything we can to get the rock out, because Devin was born on my mom's 5-year anniversary. Mm-hmm. So she died of breast cancer when I was 30. And she passed away on October 27th, 2005. And Devin was born on October 27th, 2010. So I was like, she sent him to me. Mm-hmm. He's going to be the first to beat this. And that's why we came up with the slogan, or I came up with the slogan, Why Not Devin? Because I'm like, someone has to be first.
Right.
Why not Devin?
Yeah.
So we never told them during the whole time that things weren't going in the right direction, because I actually don't think that I knew. Yeah. I was terrified, but I was so full of hope that I was like, this is going to work. He's going to be the first. And so he went into the hospital for the last 3 weeks of his life. And at that point, we told them, this is not good. It's not what we wanted and hoped for.
Yeah. Believe me, I understand that conversation. I had to have it with my daughters about their mom.
I remember I talked to you right around that. Do you remember? Because it was right around Devin's dash last year.
Yeah.
And my heart felt for you so much, because they're adults.
Yeah. I mean, 17. She passed away right after my daughter turned 17, literally the day after.
Yeah.
I remember thinking to myself, I'm like, just don't die on her birthday.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
she did the day after, and I'm like, I almost feel like she was aware and held on extra.
1,000,000%.
Yeah.
I believe that 1,000,000%.
It's so weird, because you think, like you say, everything happens for a reason. And when stuff like that happens, you're like, what is the reason that you would, torture isn't even the word, that you would do this to me, but there's got to be something. Have you figured out yet?
So, I mean, there's a couple things. So when my mom passed away, I have believed everything happens for a reason. Everything's meant to be my whole life.
Yeah.
Until my mom died. And then I couldn't bring myself to believe it until Devin died. And then I thought, okay, the only comfort and solace I can take is knowing that my mom, who is the most nurturing, loving woman on the planet, was there to meet him.
Yeah.
So I then was like, I believe in this. Like and I always said she sent Devin to me for a lot of reasons. I won't get into a lot of details, but I was in a really bad marriage.
Yeah.
And only when he passed away, I was like, I need to make sure my other 3 surviving boys know what they have seen is not normal. So it gave me the courage to finally leave.
Yeah.
And so in that regard, it's like a weird thing to say out loud, and it doesn't still like really hold 100% to that, like everything happens for reasons. I'm like, I could have finally figured that out, but I just think it's not always what we think the reason is, or you're not always going to be able to figure it out. But I do believe that, there's a whole process and a reason for the journey.
Yeah, that makes sense 100%. That's funny because that's what I always think about. I'm like, sometimes you don't realize when something happens, you might not get the answer the next day. You might not get it you might not get it for years.
Right.
But when you start looking back and connecting the dots, you go, okay, well, if this didn't happen, then this wouldn't have happened, which ultimately led to this. But you know what? It's funny you say that because when you were in the bad marriage, right? You were probably thinking like, it would be so hard to have that conversation, to do the breakup, the separation. But then after Devin passed, you're probably like, okay,
it's nothing in comparison, right?
Yeah. I literally, after, like with me, after I had I was talking to someone after it was right before Sandy died, but after I talked to the girls about it, I'm like, this is it. I said, I don't think I will ever have a like, there are times that you're like, oh God, I have to have this conversation with somebody at work or whatever. I said, there is nothing now that somebody could throw at me and be like, hey, we have to have a talk about this, that I'll even hesitate about.
Yeah.
I'm like, I just literally told my daughters, about their mom. I'm like, what are you going to say to me?
Yeah.
Oh, we got to lay you off. All right, whatever.
Yeah. Oh, it puts everything into perspective.
Big time.
You're like, yeah. I remember talking with you too, because you said she had headaches for a long time.
Yeah.
Right. And it was only her new husband who had said, you need to get it checked out.
The connection with that is.
Yeah.
So while we were married, it was like she would get migraines.
Yeah.
And I've never had a migraine. So, but I know that people have had migraines and they're like, oh, it puts you on your ass. You have to lay down in a dark room for a couple of hours or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's literally what would happen to her. She'd be out. She'd go lay down, lights out, everything for a little while. And then, she'd just keep it moving. Sometimes she'd be out for like a day or something. And every time it happened, I would say, hey, you should just go to the doctor, see if they can give you something for it. And she was like, no, I know. I've just got to lay down. It's not a big deal. And it got to the point where, like, I would say to her, hey, you should really go to the doctor for this. But I said it in a way where I knew it was like a game. It's like the Batman and the Joker, right? Joker does something bad, Batman shows up, they tussle a little bit, and then they do it all again the next time. They're like, oh, we'll see you again when I try and rob a bank tomorrow. Yeah. So it was like I would say to her, hey, you got to go to the doctor. But I knew what the conversation was going to be. It was me saying, you should go to the doctor, and her saying, no, I'm all set.
Yeah.
So, but it was like a courtesy conversation.
Yeah.
So this happened for years. So then after we got separated, the next summer, well, he ended up being her husband, but at the time he was her boyfriend. They just started dating. And I went over, I don't know if I went over to get the girls or to drop them off or something, but he was outside and he said, hey, can I ask you a question? And I said, yeah. He said, Sandy gets these headaches. And I said, the migraines? And he said, yeah. And I go, hey, you know what? Maybe she'll listen to you, because that was like a running joke with us, where I would tell her to go get checked out and she'd say, I'm going to be fine. And a day later she was fine. And he was like, well, she's been out for, I forget, it might've been like, she was out for like a weekend. It was like a couple of days.
Oh, wow.
And I said, you should talk to her. Maybe you can convince her. The new perspective coming from him, he convinced her to go. I'll never forget. I was in Miami I was just kind of like hitting the stage of like, because after like I got divorced from her, I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna be a single dad with 3 kids, whatever. Because I didn't want to do the whole like introducing new people to my kids and dealing with that nonsense. So I was, and my friends would always be like, nah, man, you know what? You're going to date, you're going to find someone. And I'm like, no, it's not going to happen. So anyway, I took a trip with my friends to Miami. Had fun. Came back.
As you should after getting divorced. Yeah.
Yeah, have fun.
Yeah.
You know, nothing crazy, but it was fun. So anyway, came back. And I remember coming back from that trip going like, you know what? Maybe I will find somebody or whatever. Like I felt good. That was like the first time in a while that I kind of felt like you're going over the hump. It was a Monday. I took my car to get an oil changed at the dealership. It's so funny because to this day, I'm like, I'm never going to get an oil change at a delership again. I usually go to like a Jiffy Lube or one of those places. Went to the dealership. I'm at the dealership waiting for my car, and I get a call from my ex-wife, and no, she shot me a text. And she said, I need to go I'm on my way to the hospital right now. They found a brain tumor and they have to operate. And I was like, what?
It was in a text?
In a text, because she was like on her way. Like
oh my God.
She went to the doctor and they were like, you need to go. I think she went to like her doctor and they were like, you need to go to the hospital. So she shot me that text. And I called and I was like, where are you guys going? They told me. So I literally was about to go run and be like, give me my car, but they just finished. I grabbed it. So to this day, I still have that weird connection of bringing it's such a stupid thing.
No, it's like trauma. I mean, that's like
I brought my car to a dealership once to get an oil change, and ever since then, I've never done it. But anyway, and I'll never forget, we went to the hospital, and the feeling of getting punched in the gut and all the air being sucked out of you when you get that news. Mm-hmm. Is that how it was for you?
Oh my God. Yeah. We were in a sterile room with like 10 doctors, and it was just my ex-husband and myself. And they deliver this news like they're telling you like your toenail needs to be like removed. Like they were so sterile. They were so matter of fact, like your kid's going to die. And yeah, that whole, I felt like I don't think that I was on the ground, but when I think of back to that time, I envisioned myself on the ground.
Yeah.
But I immediately went into, because my ex-husband was like couldn't like comprehend anything. So I immediately went into like protection mode, and I'm taking care of this, and no fucking way. I don't know if I can swear on here.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, no fucking way is this going to be his story. Like they said 8 months to 2 years. Fine. We need time. Like give me 2 years. Things will progress. We're going to figure this out. So for me, it was like, I went into automatic, like protect and do mode. Mm-hmm. And then I just remember like a day later driving in my car by myself and screaming at the top of my lungs, like out of nowhere. Mm-hmm. And I'm not like a very like, it would just like, it was so out of body sometimes that you can't even like comprehend what's going on.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. And I think my kids, like that was my other kids, like talking to them. But for me, it was super important to have them all together. So we went to London for the first treatment with the surgery. We were there 3.5 weeks. I brought everyone. Mm-hmm. I was like, you're telling me that, I mean, prior to that, I took them all to every practice, every game, every grocery store run, it was all 4 of them together.
Yeah.
So I was like, we are not changing anything. Now I don't care if I have to spend every last dollar that we have.
And you took them out of school
for
this too?
I went to the superintendent and I went to our principal. I mean, Colin was in 7th grade. Owen was in 5th grade. 6th, 4th, 2nd kindergarten. So Colin was starting middle school.
Yeah.
And I just went to them and I'm like, I'm pulling them out. Can you send me with work? Like they'll be fine. Thankfully, they're all like have always been strong students. Mm-hmm. But yeah, there was no questions. We went in May and we were there. And then also over the summer and then right at the beginning of school also they went. But I was like, there's no way. We don't know how long we have. And even though in my head, I was like, we have all the time in the world. I was like, I'm not letting them miss a minute with each other.
Yeah. What did you find out if that trial? You know how when they do trials, they some people get the medicine, some people get like a placebo. Did you ever find out if?
Yeah. So in London, it wasn't like it was a trial, but not in the traditional sense like that. This was actually chemo they were putting in, and they were doing it for everyone. I think because I don't know how many trials with DIPG they actually do with a placebo.
Yeah.
Because it's a death sentence regardless. The reason why we went to London was because the FDA was so much stricter here. So they would only let you put in one catheter at a time, and you had to take it out every time. Devin's surgery had 4 put in a port where they administered medicine.
Yeah.
The FDA's gotten a little more lax or lenient with trials here. So yeah. So no, there was no placebo, I don't think.
Right.
In any of those.
So, and then you went. So you were in London when? For what?
So we actually flew there May 17th, which is now DIPG Awareness Day.
Yeah.
So, but which we have to have local officials, and the governor does it in Massachusetts every year for me. We're trying to make it a national day of, not remembrance, just a awareness. Thank you. I haven't finished all of my coffee yet. But we have to have it proclaimed every single year. But we flew there on May 17th, and Boston and Framingham and so many other places lit up green, Devin's favorite color. So we went May 17th and we flew back, I think June, maybe like 9th or something. And then would go back and forth.
It's so funny because I remember seeing all the, WhyNotDevin stickers and like the little, was it the Green Lantern symbol?
Yeah,
the Green Lantern stuff. And asking, I'm like, what is this about? And somebody who, I don't know if she was your neighbor, somebody who knew about it told me about
CrossFit.
It was from CrossFit, yeah.
It was one of our friends. Yeah, I remember. Yeah, because then we made that connection.
How did that... So did you start that, or did just when your friends and neighbors found out about it, they kind of started it?
Which thing?
The WhyNotDevin, the green, everybody. They said everybody would put green lights on their porch or something at night.
So Devin, first of all, someone asked him what his favorite superhero was, and it's all boys in my house. It was like Batman, Spider-Man, like all these. He was obsessed with Ant-Man for a little bit, and the day he got diagnosed, someone's like, "Who's your favorite superhero?" And he says Green Lantern. And we're like,
Green Lantern.
Who's Green Lantern? Like, I mean, I know who he is, but his whole thing is about the bright light and the will, and it's like was kind of amazing. And green was always his favorite color.
Yeah.
So I started a Facebook page because everything was happening so fast, and I come from a pretty large family. My ex-husband came from a large family, and our community was so amazing, and we were involved in like so many sports and, all sorts of things. And so I started the Facebook group just to keep everyone updated what was happening. And then it was like a week after, and Kim Kardashian tweeted it.
Wow.
And all of a sudden it went viral. She tweeted this picture of me holding Devin and said something about like mothers and their kids. And so the group went from like our friends, like 1,000 people, to like over 30,000 people in this group in like a week. It was wild and amazing. And one of the issues with DIPG is that there's not a lot of awareness. Between 300 to 400 kids a year are diagnosed with it. And it's all kids, and there's not one survivor. So you're like, okay, if there are 300 to 400 kids a year who were killed like in a plane or somewhere else, like people would go crazy, and rightfully so. But DIPG just didn't have a lot of awareness. And so through that, they said we helped move the needle on awareness with DIPG 10 years.
Really?
Just in that 8 months that Devin was diagnosed and fought. Yeah.
That's crazy. That's like, Boomer Esiason?
Yeah.
Okay, so his son had, or has, what does he have? Cystic fibrosis, I think it is. And when he was diagnosed with it, Boomer Esiason, at the time, I think cystic fibrosis, the life expectancy was maybe
little
teens or something like that. And he ended up talking to I forget the guy's name. He was like a sports reporter who happened to have a child who had it too.
Oh, wow.
And yeah. And so I think the sports reporter said basically to him, hey, listen, you have a platform to bring awareness to this. Try and do it. And from there, Boomer Esiason, every freaking auto dealership commercial, anything, any sponsorship thing he did, he always said, well, you need to donate money to cystic fibrosis, all this stuff. Anyway, you fast forward, his son, I believe, is now in his freaking 30s or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
He single-handedly, he changed the life expectancy of cystic fibrosis people.
That's like meant to be, right? As much as that sucks getting that diagnosis, you can change that for so many other people, right? That life expectancy for other people who are diagnosed, and that's part of it. I mean, when Devin died, our priest deemed him the saint of friendship and kindness, because when he was diagnosed in January of 2017, it was during an election that was, everyone was super divided. Everyone, even in our own community, was super negative, super it was not a great time. And this brought together everyone, our community, all the towns around us. None of the other stuff mattered. People rallied around us. We didn't have to think of a meal for 10 months. Long after, 2 months after Devin passed away, people were still sending us meals, and not casserole dishes. Colin and I have celiac. People made us the most amazing meals for every single day. People rallied so that we went to trips. They did a kindness week for Colin, Owen, and Brendan. So not only, everyone obviously wanted Devin, and to help out and to focus on Devin, but people did acts of kindness, weeks of kindness for my other kids, and just really rallied. And so that is something too that I'm so forever grateful for, to have these people who we didn't know, who maybe I knew of or knew who we were just from being in the community, who dropped everything and did everything. At Devin's wake, there was 3,000 people that came through the wake.
Wow.
And I hugged every single one of them, and my back the next day was in so much pain. It was like a workout. But people handed me gifts as they were coming through, really nice gifts. And I don't even know who, I don't remember, but people just really went out of their way to try to be kind and to help. And that's why I have the WhyNotDevin Foundation now, because for me, it was really important to be able to give other families going through this nightmare, the same support in some regard. So I give grants to families for whatever they need, whether it's travel to a trial, whether it's medication, if it's to pay their mortgage, because if your kid is diagnosed with a terminal disease has a short lifespan, you want to do everything you can to try to save them, or depending on, some people don't, and they just want to have all the time they can.
Yeah.
So you don't want to work. So I give a grant for whatever they need. They can go on a trip. They can use it for whatever they want, because that's the support that we got. And so since January of this year, we've given away $98,000.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I also help fund a nurse navigation program. So when when Devin was diagnosed, I told you we're here's trials.gov, look it up online and find something that you think might be applicable, because the head of neuro-oncology couldn't tell us what to do because nothing was proven. And so they couldn't tell us where to take Devin or what to do. So now we help fund this nurse navigation program that families who are diagnosed within 48 hours get contacted or can contact them, and they help navigate the process.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's also been a blessing and a godsend for me, because now my grants go through this nurse navigation program.
Yeah.
Up until last summer, I was getting all the people that were reaching out to me, whether it was the family itself, a good friend, or whatever. So I was going through the entire journey with them over and over and over again. And last summer, I got to a point that I was like, I can't keep doing this. It's like, it was crushing my soul to have to keep. And so now we figured out this great process, and I've been able to help a lot more people this year because of the nurse navigation program.
Isn't it crazy how people can like hate each other right now? Politics, right?
Yep.
They hate each other.
So dumb.
For the dumbest things.
Yeah.
But then 2 seconds later, they get brought together. People are so freaking weird.
I know. Well, I also think it's like, you're like, okay, that doesn't matter. I mean, yes, it matters, right? It's our whatever. But the grand...
But ultimately, this is what matters the most.
100%. And I think part of the reason why it became so viral is because people could really relate. Like, we were just this like normal family, 4 kids, as normal as you could say normal, that is. But and we were everywhere out in the community, and you know, I had them doing acts of kindness before Devin got sick, and so then it just turned into this thing. So Devin's anniversary was just on October 20th, last Sunday, and the state and Framingham proclaimed it Devin's Wow Day, a day of friendship and kindness. So I'm such a believer in making a bad day better, or doing something better with something bad. And so that day, we asked people to do acts of kindness. So we're like, I mean, so if acts of kindness can happen because of that, it's not all in vain. It's not all, you know, and we'll go to places and pay for the person behind us, or my kids and I will walk into a restaurant. I'm like, pick one table or one person at the, like, we go to breakfast a lot. Pick one person or a table and we'll pay for them. And one time we were at Chick-fil-A and we paid for the car behind us, and somehow the woman at Chick-fil-A knew who I was. I never tell anyone like who it is. And she sent me a message and said 17 cars paid for each other. So I'm like,
who was the scumbag who decided to, to stop the streak?
That's a reaction, right? And that's one of my kids like said something similar. I'm like, but maybe that person actually didn't have money to pay for their food, and they were going, and they were, you know, and they actually had some extra money for something else that they needed. But that's the reaction 100% that everyone has. And then I had to, like, you know, you have to kind of rethink. But yeah,
it's crazy. Well, you know, I like to think of it. Everybody, when something like that happens close to you, everybody at some point in their life is going to go through a catastrophic event.
Crapters. We call them crapters, crappy chapters.
Yeah. No, it's true. And it's like, I've always said to people, if it hasn't happened to you, you might be the catastrophic event that happens in someone else's life.
Yeah.
You know, that's why it hasn't happened. But if it hasn't happened to you, it will happen. Yet people are people, which is what sucks. When Sandy, when she got diagnosed, she went to, I'm not going to say the hospital, I'm not going to say the doctor, but she went to this one hospital, this one doctor, and he literally looked at her and was like, there's really basically nothing we can do. If you want, we can do some sort of treatment or whatever. And she walked out of there and she said, I need to find another doctor because this guy's basically saying, like, I'm going to die.
Was this in the beginning?
This is in the beginning, yeah.
Oh my God, because she ended up living
10 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, which is crazy because when we first went to the hospital and they diagnosed her, the first thing they said was, don't look it up online. Glioblastoma is what she had. And I'm like, you might as well just pull it up right now because you know that's the first thing I'm gonna do. And I just remember looking at it, and it said, you know, it could be months. And one of the, you know, like when you Google because you're not satisfied, like I kept on looking, and it said one of the high points I saw said 11 years. And I'll never forget in my head being like, all right, Lily will be this age, Cal will be this. Please, 11 years, 11 years, 11 years. She almost made it to 11 years. And when she died, my first thought was, why did I say 11 years? I should have said, give me 30 or something like that.
Yeah.
But anyway, so she went to this doctor, the first one, and he was very, like you guys saying, like just very matter of fact. And she did not like it. Ended up finding the doctor that she ended up going with, who like I said, people are people. Sometimes people see a challenge and they're like, I'm not feeling it. And other times people see a challenge and they're like,
yeah,
bring it on.
Let's do it. Yeah.
And this guy's name was Dr. Wong. He was one of those bring it on guys. And they had a great relationship. Great.
Awesome.
To the point where he moved from Beth Israel to Rhode Island. And she's like, I'm switching hospitals.
Oh, wow.
Just to follow the doctor.
Yeah.
But yeah, they definitely have to do something with
some sort of ethos training or whatever.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, I think they just become so desensitized.
Yeah.
But we had this when we took an ambulance to Boston, and there was like we were met with a team, and even then Devin was like pointing out the things in the ambulance, and he was like goofy, and I'm still like, this is going to be like a scare that's not really going to be this. And so he had tests throughout the night. He finally went to sleep at like 3 a.m, and I was sleeping in his bed with him, and this neuro-oncologist came in, or neurosurgeon, I'm not sure which she was actually, and she was like trying to frantically wake him up. It was like 7 a.m, so he'd been asleep for 4 hours. He was a 6-year-old boy who's just been through, and she wakes him up in this frantic mode. He's in between. She's on one side of him. I'm sleeping on the other side of him. And she wakes him up and scares the shit out of him and me. And she's like, I was afraid he wasn't going to wake up. And I'm like,
What?
what? And now we still don't have a diagnosis, right? And she had the worst bedside manner of anyone I've ever come in contact with. And we're at a pediatric hospital. So I went to one of the heads there and I said, look, she's got the worst bedside manner could ever imagine. But if you tell me she's the best person to help in this disaster nightmare, I can deal with her bedside manner. And they were like, well, and I was like, I don't want her.
Right.
Find me. And that's so not my personality either. Usually I'm like, okay, I'm sure she's fine. She'll be great. Like I always see the like better, but you have to be the advocate. You have to be the one who is not desensitized, because it's your
Right.
son, ex-wife, dad, my mom, like but I always said in those darkest moments, we were in the hospital room and this head of radiology walked in, and she was this tiny, like 5-foot little lady, and everything had just seemed so dark. Like, so you're right, everything was so dark. And she walked in, she was telling me about radiation and what it was going to entail. And I really didn't hear a word she said, but I just looked at her and I said, can you just give me the smallest glimmer of hope? And she was like, yeah, I can. There is hope. And I was like, that's all I need. I'm good. We got this. We're going to fight this. Like, we're good to go. And it was just that one little thing from this radiologist that if any of like the 20 neurosurgeon, oncologist, whatever, if one person had just said that, it would have changed the whole trajectory of that whole conversation and how it seemed.
It's energy, man.
Yeah.
You know how sometimes somebody walks in a room and you haven't even spoken to them, but you're like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna like this person.
This isn't gonna work.
And I'm always right when that.
It's
right.
energy, or the opposite. Sometimes you just see someone in a room and you're like, I don't know why. And not like I'm not talking about like an attraction thing. It could be, you know what I mean? It's just like somebody walks in and you're like, something about that person is cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Without even talking to them.
You had that with me. You saw me. You're like,
yeah,
he's really cool.
I was like, I like Moose. Yeah, no, I remember the surgeon who operated on Sandy's brain tumor, German dude. And again, he wasn't going like, we're gonna save or anything like that. But the way he was talking, I'm like, I love this dude. He explained what it was. She had a tumor. It was like the size of an apple. And he said, I'm going to tell you right now, I can't get 100% of it out. It's impossible. It's in the brain. It's this big. It's in this area. But I'm going to do the absolute best I can to get as much of it out as possible. I don't know how much that can be, but I'm going to try and get as much of it out as possible. But at the same time, save her function so that, she doesn't lose any motor function or any of that stuff. This dude got 97%
oh my
of
God,
the tumor
really?
out. Yes, 97% of it out. And it's funny because when he was explaining it, he was almost saying it like he was disappointed that he couldn't get more. And I'm like, dude,
God.
you got how much out? It was crazy to the point where I remember one time I went to the dentist, and I don't know how this conversation came up, but I was talking to the hygienist. We just started having a conversation. Her aunt had brain cancer. You notice everybody has some sort of connection to freaking cancer?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. But her aunt had it, and she started talking about this amazing surgeon, this German dude who, helped her out to get the tumor out. And I was like, what hospital was this at? Where was this dude? Googled the dude, and it was the same guy. I'm like, that guy, I love that guy. Like, there are people out there who, like you said, it's just like they do one thing or say one thing, and it changes. It's like, how they say, like, smile at a stranger and it might change their whole day.
Yeah.
It's that type
so
of
true.
Thing. Yeah.
You compliment one person, do something, it really has like this infectious result, right? Like it keeps going. But my other thing that I'm such a huge believer in is when you actually take time to talk to people and listen to what they have to say, we're all so connected. Mm-hmm. Like everyone has a story, someone in common, something like that. Like you were talking to your dentist and then that just happened to come out, or how we met.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like when you actually take time to listen to people, it really is so cathartic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like a really so if everyone could just do that instead of looking at
yes,
we think differently or we feel differently or we believe differently or whatever, it would be such a kinder world.
Or what people mostly do is you create that person's thoughts.
False narrative.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is what they're thinking. This is what. How do you know?
Right.
How do you know?
Yeah, you
don't know. It's always, somebody said this one time and it's so true. You judge somebody else on the action, but you judge yourself on your intention. So if you mess up and piss someone else off, you're like, yeah, but I meant to do this.
Yeah.
But if someone pisses you off, you're like, you pissed me off, you suck.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah, so true. Also so crazy how you just said this, like your ex-wife, your dad, my son, 3 of us. There's only 3 of us sitting in this room. And we've all been so impacted by cancer.
Yeah.
Right? It's like you can't, I don't know. My kids are my everything. They are, and getting to watch them grow up. My oldest is a sophomore in college now. My second is a senior. My third is a sophomore. And now I have this great blended family. So I have some others in between, literally every single age. But watching them hit these milestones, and I listened to this right after Devin died. Oprah had this guest on who was meeting with this family, and the mother had a son and then twins. And when the twins were 6 months old, one of them died. And now it was 4 or 5 years later, and the mom could not move forward, right? She couldn't, you don't move on, you move forward and you bring everything with you, but she couldn't. She was stuck in this place. And this very inspirational speaker, and I'll never forget, there was like 3 weeks after Devin died. And she was like, you have to focus on each of your kids individually and let them thrive and not think at all those milestones, well, John should be there too. John should be doing this. John should be, because your surviving children can never live up to that expectation.
Yeah.
Never. Because who knows what that other twin would be doing or where he would be. And that was something that, again, everything happens for a reason, that I heard at the perfect time. And I have lived by that since 2017. It doesn't mean it's not hard, and I don't have sometimes those thoughts. It's usually not at that same moment, but it'll usually hit me before or after. But I really try to just focus on my kids that are here and their actual milestones, and they're thriving. They are killing it at life, and it is my greatest joy. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure your mom too, watching you guys with all that you're going to have in store for however many long years you have together, that's what keeps her going.
How's she doing?
She has her moments. She does. Malika's a little I like to joke around. I'm like, Ma, I think you're still 17 on the inside. But no, she just has a very young soul. She's 70, but she's quick.
I love it.
No, she has her days, and I think I always tell her, I'm come on, Mom, like, Dad loved when you got dressed up. Come on, Mom, Dad loved you when he did this. And, like, she's old school. She's not from America, so, like, she has a different way of thinking. So I try and, like, implement as many positive things I can in her mind throughout the day.
Where is she from?
Algeria.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, I try and just tell her things like, Mom, Dad would not want to see you upset all the time. And when she cries, I can tell she kind of tries to hold it in. I'm like, cry. Let it out. I told her, I'm like, I'll start crying with you. Go ahead. I'm like, it's okay. I told her, I'm like, you're supposed to feel that. I'm like, if you didn't, I'd be a little concerned right now. Like, so whenever she gets emotional, it's not awkward. She doesn't try and, like, toughen up in front of me. When she remembers him and then she gets emotional, I say that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I'm like, why would you want to forget him?
Yeah.
So I try and normalize those thoughts for her. I try and make her feel like this isn't something you should be ashamed about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I try, but she does have her moments.
I think coming from you saying that too, like, I'm listening, like, from your mom's point of view, right? So I'm listening to, like, you tell this story and it's making me think of my kids, and the same thing, we normalize it. But I realized a little while ago, I am not good at crying in front of them for that same reason, because I'm like, oh, I don't want to make them get upset. And we talk about Devin all the time. It's very normal, but I realized I was missing that part. Like, hey, are you upset? Are you doing okay? And so, like, thank you for sharing that perspective, because it really reiterates, like, what I've been thinking for the last couple of months, and especially with this anniversary. And my kids, they're older. So, like, my oldest said to me, like, I don't know if I would handle it okay if Devin died now, like, as he's an adult. And so it's all, like, I appreciate your perspective.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you.
No, of course. Yeah, thank you. I've never been that silent on a podcast ever in my life. I just was really taking it all in. It's and him and I have discussed this a million times. I think in that moment, and I'm sure you can relate to this too, you don't really have time, especially when you're given such a short number.
Yeah.
You don't, and I lived with my dad, you don't have time, I think, to, what's the word I'm looking for?
Cry.
No, not cry. Well, yeah, there's plenty of that. I mean, you don't have time to act like nothing's going on. You don't have time. You have time to figure out a solution if possible, or make the best of what you're given with.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that just hit me so quickly. And one thing I love that what you were saying is your whole community involvement. Like, I'm sure a lot of people who come from, like, immigrant families or whatever can relate to this. It's like we have this weird thing with, like, shame, where it's like it's about your reputation and, like, you don't want to seem weak. And there were so many moments where I just was like, why are we acting like this isn't happening to other people?
Yeah.
Like, when people, like, why are we acting like there's not an issue?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
But then when the going gets tough and when we reach that day, let's make it known.
Yeah.
It's like, it's a weird thing. A lot of, I'm sure not just, like, people with immigrant families, American people, whoever it is, but, like, it's this weird thing. So when you hearing you say, like, started a Facebook page and the foundation, you're doing the amazing work now, and your community coming together, it's almost like, look how much good people can do if we are just honest and vulnerable with each other.
Yeah.
If we just drop our egos and just sit, we are all human beings, we all go through tough trials. Look at the amazing things that can be done.
Yeah. And I don't think it's just immigrant families. I think it's everyone. Like, people have a tough time being vulnerable. People have, but those are the times that bring out the good in so many people. Mm-hmm. So, I think sharing your story is so important. There's always people who have stories, and you should really come on November 3rd too, to Devin's Dash, because it's a whole day of community.
Absolutely.
So Ramiro has been so amazing, and I still laugh at your texts when I text you about.
Oh. So I gotta read the text. I gotta find it.
Oh my God. You look for that, and I'm just gonna keep saying. So when we first met, I was like, hey, will you MC our Devin's Dash? Like, will you come? And last year you were there and didn't even tell me what was going on until after with Sandy. Like, and those conversations, and you're just amazing and show up. But it's a whole day of the 5K run walk is at 11. And then we have Wally from the Red Sox is coming. We're doing the first ever.
I know the guy who dresses up as Wally.
Really?
Yeah.
I have a funny story that I'll tell you offline. But he, and we have face painting, we have jumpy houses, we have like touch a truck with police, fire.
I just laughed because I read the text. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, interject and say what it is.
So, by the way, everything you were saying, I'm 100% that. Like you said, I didn't mention anything to the end because I'm one of those people that, I hate talking about my own vulnerabilities because I'm like, my immediate thought is everybody's going through shit. Mm-hmm. So just I'm always like, I don't feel like you see some people who like always throw their stuff on other people. It's like if they're having a bad day, they come in and it's like they want everybody to have a bad day because they're having a bad day.
Yeah.
And I'm like, do you know how many people are having bad days? And they're like, hey, you know what? Bad days happen. I'll deal with it. Good days happen. Like they kind of figure out the pattern of life. But still, so that's why like I'm always very. If somebody asks me about it, I'll talk about it. Otherwise, for the most part, I won't say anything. Yeah. For some reason, I need to grow up when it comes to that. Okay, let me read you the. So, it was just basically her asking if I would come to the host Devin's Dash again with the date, and I wrote, I'm in, madam. So, okay.
So in my head, I'm like, wait. He's in a show? What's Madam? I'm like, I Google Madam. I'm like, wow, I didn't know. He's like, so I was like, okay. Wait, what did I say?
Hey, what's Madam? No worries at all. Thank you for all your support the last few years. Sending you, Nicole, and all your kids so much love. And so I was just kind of like, she knows I'm me. Like, I kind of read that like, why is she reading that like I'm not going to be there? But I kind of like let it go. And then she replied again and said, OMG, I didn't really know what you were saying. I thought you were going to be in something called Madam.
Oh my God.
I Googled it.
Oh yeah. I laughed for a solid 20 minutes. I'm like, and it's so me. I'm a spaz and like, but just even like asking like, to help out with that. I still have like a hard time with certain like asking for help, but we've been able to raise so much money and help so many people. And so this year we have a new award, the Devin Swow Hero Award, that we are presenting to Framingham's Mayor Sisitsky, because he lights up Framingham green for Devin Swow Day. He shows up to all of our events. He's really been so supportive and so great. And and then we have a band who starts at noon, and we have the Patriots game is on, and we have vendors, and we have raffles and all sorts of stuff. So it's like becoming this whole community day, because I didn't want people who have no desire to run or walk to feel like they couldn't come participate. Right? Yeah. So I'm like, no, it's a whole day. It's come. So it's really been turning into this much bigger fun thing.
And where is it going to be?
So it's at Jack's Abbey in Framingham. They are such a phenomenal partner with us. They also, so we do it the first weekend in November because it kicks off November, December, anywhere that they sell Jack's Abbey House Lager. So any restaurant, any bar, liquor store, their brewery, they donate 10% of the House Lager sales to WhyNotDevin every November, December. They are just an incredible local family who partners with us all the time.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
That's so good.
Yeah. So
we have Devin's Dash November 3rd, and then your other foundation is called.
So I had a business called Meant to Be Me, but I have dissolved that because working, WhyNotDevin, single momming. I
was about to ask to buy. I was like, I want to buy some green merch. Green's my favorite color.
Oh, I have a lot for WhyNotDevin.
Oh, you do? Okay, yes. Beautiful. All right.
I will give you some at. I was very unprepared today, but we have some new merch coming in too. It's really cool. And then I have a marathon team every year. I tried going through the BAA this year for the first time and didn't get it. I think maybe because we're too small. I'm not sure. But I typically go through elected officials, and that's how I am able to have a marathon team.
I mean, you're not small enough for Kim Kardashian to post yourself.
I know. Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell wore the bracelet for like a solid 6 months, like in press, like Devin for Daddy's Home we got to go on set because they filmed in Framingham, and he got to say cut. And this really exemplifies Devin's personality. So they're sitting in the director's chairs, and first of all, Mel Gibson comes up, and Devin goes, "Who's this guy?" And so he's like trying to be nice, he's chatty, whatever. And then Will Ferrell comes up, and he's in like, it was like the scene, I don't know if you guys seen it, where he tries to chop down the telephone pole and he gets electrocuted. And so he comes up, he's got dirt all over him. And Devin and Will Ferrell bantered. Like, why no one recorded it, I have no idea, for a solid 10 minutes. Because he's a boy dad. Those two went back and forth. And then, Mark Wahlberg rolls up with his like black leather jacket, his like crew. They were all just so great, so cool to my kids. But yeah, poor Mel Gibson. I mean, I don't know. He was like, I know I'm not that interesting, but you'll like this guy. And
so
walked.
So the Why Not Devin, you're doing that full time now?
I mean, no, I work full time, but this is it is full time, yes, but it's my labor of love.
What do you do for work?
I work for a tech company. I'm a customer success manager. I work with a lot of universities, nonprofits, and we have a few platforms that I onboard and then strategize and try to make super successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Why Not Devin, that's like a full, 501c?
501c3, yeah. Yep. So
think about all the people that you don't even know that you've affected, that are like, you started this snowball of they're going to help someone else. They're going to help. It's that Chick-fil-A line, like, to the next level.
Thank you.
And I'm serious.
It's honestly, I think of it, sometimes it's a lot. Like right now, getting to Devin's Dash, it's a lot of work. I have an amazing team of friends of mine who make Devin's Dash happen. And then the marathon, my boyfriend is a marathon runner, and he's helped me for the last 3 years, like with the team and getting it out there. And Bourbons is another, it's a restaurant in Framingham. If you guys have never been, my friend Luke Foley owns it. He's an incredible partner. So all the marathon, we have a big event there that he opens up on Sunday. They're closed on Sundays normally. Their whole staff volunteers. We have the best time. But the marathon's really my like big fundraiser. The problem is, because I get it through the bibs through elected officials, I typically don't get them until like end of January.
Oh.
Yeah. So I can't ask like the normal 10 plus grand that the BAA does, because it's so late in the game. So what I've done in the past, Devin's birthday is this Sunday. He should be turning 14, which is like a really hard thing for me to grasp, because he passed away 1 week before his 7th birthday. So I'm like, to kind of try to visualize like what he would look like that's hard. Like this one's been hard for me, because he's gone just now longer than he was here.
Yeah.
But I just actually completely lost my train of thought with that. 7. Oh, it was 7 for Devin. And now we've gone up a little bit every year, because but we throw this huge event that helps with a lot of fundraising. So that's at Bourbons in usually the first weekend in April or the last weekend in March. So
It's so funny you said that about him being gone longer than he was here, because all those things you were talking about before, about like missing this, missing that, that's all I think about. Mm-hmm. And I'm always like, there's going to be a day where, they're an age where they're like, wow, more than half my life has been without my mom and stuff. And those are the things that it's like waves. Have you ever heard the wave analogy?
Yeah.
Have you had that one?
Yeah.
Where it's like sometimes it hits you hard, sometimes it's just like it hits you and it's like a regular wave in the ocean.
Some days you think I might drown you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And sometimes it's for no reason. Like one of my sons on Sunday was like talking to me, and he's like, I don't feel like, I feel like I should feel more sad. And on his anniversary, and I was like, no, there's no rule book. It's not, you're not supposed to feel anyway. It's however you feel.
Yeah.
And it might not be today that it's hitting you, and that because first of all, we were all together on that day this year, and we had a great day together. It was Providence Parents Weekend. And I was like, but it might hit you a different day, and that's okay. Like there's no manual. No one knows what the hell, like how to do it.
Yeah.
But Ramiro, think it's so amazing with you that you have this like this empathy, this pain, this like for your kids, but also for Sandy and like, but for your kids, I feel like that's so important that they know that you feel this with them. So it's like less alienating for them to be like, well, my parents got divorced. My dad, you know, like doesn't feel for, do you know what I mean? Because in divorced families, like that's not the norm really.
Right.
The way you guys handled it. And I just remember talking to Nicole at the Meant to Be event in Shrewsbury. And I just was so blown away with your empathy and how much like even Nicole like wants to make sure and your two children with Nicole know of Sandy and know of her and know all these things. And I just really find that so admirable.
Yeah. Have you guys, because I know Pebbles was saying earlier that you found out you're on your last life.
Yeah.
So did you go to like a psychic to find that out, or?
Wait, what?
So, no, one time me and Pebbles were just chit-chatting, and we have a psychic medium, spiritual person coming on the podcast next time we meet. And I mentioned to Pebbles prior, I was like, oh, I really want to get someone like that on. It'd be cool to have their point of view. And Pebbles said to me, you know, I don't know if I'm into psychics, but I went to one once and they told me I was on my last life. And I said, that's so funny because I went to college in Salem. So it's like, you know, like which town? I had the same one tell me the same thing. They said, you're an old soul, but they were like, this is your last turnaround here.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, thanks.
Well, that just means you've learned all your lessons.
I guess.
Yeah.
I guess what it means.
They say you come back with like whatever you struggled with in your past life. And I'm like, dear God, please don't let me come back. You know. So, but yeah, I think you're still going to have a long life. But I love that you guys are having a spiritual medium come on.
Hell yeah.
Can you say who it is or no?
Yeah, her name's Melissa.
I was gonna say I don't know. He booked her.
He's like, oh, that's great.
Yeah. Okay, sorry. I've seen a couple.
Yeah.
Okay, you have. Okay,
Yeah.
that's my. So what have they said?
Oh my God. You have to go into it. Like people go in there thinking like, I want to talk to my person. I want to like, and you can't, right? You can't. You have to go into it like, okay, whoever's going to show up is going to show up. And I hope that I get something out of this. So I've been a big believer in this forever because I 100% am a believer in this for many reasons. But I had this one lady, she's amazing. She's an empath. She's worked with some like celebrities like that you would never know, but she's like, so anyway, she and my dear friend and I met with her for the first time at a friend's of ours house who didn't tell her who she was meeting with, didn't say our names, didn't say anything. We met in a different town. And my friend Jess has, she's got metastatic breast cancer and she's got two girls and same thing, like they're now in high school. They were diagnosed when she was you've met her at the event at Devin's Dash. Mm-hmm. But we went together and this medium named Emily started talking in like to Jess first and was saying all these things and knew all these things. And then she's like, and then she asked her about like an army, like, and then she was like, oh, she's like, the back of my head really hurts. And we're like, oh my God. Like, and then I don't remember all the things we have it written down, but she basically was saying like Devin's army and then the tumor.
Oh, wow.
And she then went on to say all these things. She was like, your mom keeps, and then my mom was there and she was like, your mom keeps saying there's a ring she wants you to find. There's a ring she wants you to wear it, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I don't know what that is, you know, whatever. And then like a few months later, her jewelry box fell. I have her jewelry box in my closet and fell, like up on a shelf, just fell. And I had gotten her a mother's ring and it's my brothers and I all have the same stone. And so does my grandmother. So I was like, oh, I'll do my brothers and mine. So pink and my mom is green and then pink. So it's this one. And, and so I was like, oh, that's cool. I'll wear that. I'll put it on. And then I met with her, like she came to my house to be on our podcast and we were in my office. And first of all, she's like, in my office was like our den and Devin passed away in that room. And she's like, I can feel Devin. Did Devin pass away over there? And we were like, I like just started crying. And then she was like talking about all these things with this other person who's passed away. Like she's brilliant. It's amazing. And then she goes, that's the ring that I saw. That's the ring that I could see.
Oh my God.
Not knowing, like I didn't say like, oh, this was my mom's ring. This is whatever. I just was wearing it. And it's really.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, I believe in that stuff too, because I had 2 situations separately at 2 different radio stations where a psychic told me I was going to have a baby. They were right both times.
Oh my God. Was one when you were 21, turning 22?
No. So one was my second daughter, Kala, and my grandmother came through, and I remember all the stuff. I didn't get it. She was saying stuff with food or whatever, bananas and this or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, sure, I guess. And then all of a sudden she goes, are you having a baby? And I said, no. And she goes, I smell baby powder. By the way, this is over the phone.
Oh my God.
Over the phone, yeah. She goes, I smell baby powder. That means you're having a baby. That's my sign when someone's having a baby. And I said, when you say having a baby, like, I mean, I might have a baby in 3 or 4 years. She goes, no, you're going to have a baby this year. And it was February or March. I just know at the time, I'm like, my ex-wife, I said, she needs to be pregnant right now for the baby to be born this year. And she said, you're having a baby. You're having a girl.
Oh my God.
So, yeah. So I'm like, all right, if you say so. Sure enough, a few weeks later, my wife came to me and she said, I listened to the segment and everything that your grandmother was saying was all stuff that I craved during her first pregnancy.
No
with
way.
My other daughter. She said, yeah. And she went, took a pregnancy test, and she was pregnant. And my daughter was born December 13th. She was due December 27th. Like,
oh my God.
She nailed it. Yeah. And then a couple of years ago, right before my youngest was born, we had a psychic on, and he goes, you're going to have a baby boy.
Oh
and
my God.
Sure enough, yeah. My wife was pregnant with my son. The first one was more because the second guy was like more matter of fact. He was just like, you're going to have a baby boy. And I'm like, that's all you got? And he was like, you're having a baby boy. I don't know what to tell you. But the first one, she was describing all this stuff. And she's like, you're going to have her this year. Boom, boom. It's going to be a girl. Yeah.
Wow.
Nailed it. And other times it's been so random because I mean, my grandparents obviously passing away. But other than that, I had a cousin of mine who passed away came through, which was, I think he came through because I have a very large family. And he was the first in our generation. I have like 20-something cousins on my father's side. Yeah. And he was the first one of that generation that passed away of all of us. And he came through and everything he was saying, because he was a little bit older than me. So we went through a little phase where we kind of hung up, but he was always part of the older part of the generation. So everything she was saying, she's like, he said you guys were never really as close as you could have been just because of the age gap, but just nailing all this stuff. And my other cousin, his sister, was listening, and she was crying because everything he was saying, she was nailing. And another time, a dog of mine came through, which is crazy.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Well, big shout out to Billy, my boy. but anyway, I haven't.
Wait, you had a dog named Billy?
I had a dog named Billy.
I love that. I love when dogs have people names.
It was because I had at the time 3 dogs. I had Bonnie and Clyde. We got those together, and then we got Billy, and we kept the robber theme going, so we named him Billy the Kid.
That's amazing. That's awesome.
So Billy the Kid.
I'm gonna get a Rottweiler, name him Leonard Nimoy.
Why?
He's a Rottweiler. His name's Leonard Nimoy. So
I just got a kitten a kitten, and we named him Gus.
That cat is. Oh my God.
Doesn't he have a meme face?
Yeah, but I love it.
Have you seen my? Okay.
No, I don't think so.
So we went to. There was like a cat convention a couple of weeks ago in Boston.
Yeah.
It was called Loving Cats Worldwide.
Did your daughter just want to go?
She didn't know about it. So she loves cats, my youngest. My oldest loves animals, and she's going to University of Rhode Island, and all she does is she works at the farm, volunteers at a dog shelter. She's in a bird watching club. Like, she just loves animals.
Birds are not.
I don't like birds.
No, she loves. For her birthday. Her birthday was last Thursday, and I said, "What do you want for your birthday?" And she said, "Binoculars." So when I go out looking for birds.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, all right, if we're getting you binoculars, I'm going hardcore. I went to a bird watching site and I had to hit her back with a bunch of questions. I'm like, well, what type of, are you looking at birds under trees and it's darker and they're in the branches, or do you want it if the bird's flying in the field and you can get a better wide view?
Wow.
And she was like the second one. So I got her that, and I got her a cool connection for her phone so she can kind of line it up with the binoculars and take pictures. So she's happy about that. But so anyway, so my other daughter, my youngest, loves cats. Loves cats. So I saw this, you know how the algorithm is designed to you. I get this random ad for this thing called Loving Cats Worldwide, which was coming to Boston. I'm thinking, all right, cool. It's going to be like a, you know, like there's a dog show on TV, like, you know, Best in Show. I'm thinking it's going to be one of those, maybe some vendors or whatever. We're going to surprise her by bringing her to that. We bring her, and it was everything I said, except they also had
rescues, right?
Not rescues, breeders there with kittens of all different types.
So the surprise was on you.
And for
So literally,
she's 7, I would say, since she basically knew that cats existed. She's been asking for a Scottish fold, and those are little cats with the ears, they're folded. Taylor Swift's cats.
Okay.
So we go there, we're looking. Of course, they have the Scottish fold kittens. She's asking for it. I'm saying no. I'm like, we already have 2 cats at home.
And they're like probably like thousands of dollars because Taylor Swift has them now.
You know, growing up, I thought, I didn't know, like I know obviously dog breeders and stuff. I knew that. I thought cats, honestly, I grew up thinking that a neighbor had a cat and they had kittens and they gave them away. I thought that's how cats got distributed.
Yeah. That's probably how it was.
I didn't know that there was cat breeders until, so our first cat that we got him from a rescue. Typical looking house cat, whatever. The second cat we got, my wife's like, oh, there's this breeder in Springfield. I'm like, a cat breeder? You got to be kidding me. We go. Sure enough, we go and walk away with the cat. Now, this third cat, the unexpected one, they have the Scottish folds. She's asked for one. I say no. Then I could see her conspiring with Nicole. Like Nicole's telling her like what to say, and she'd come and say it, and then like she'd run back and say, he said this, what should I say now?
Oh my God, I love this.
Oh my God, yeah. So long story short, this is the cat. Doesn't he have like a meme face, like a sad little, you know how they have grumpy cat?
Yes,
he's
grumpy
sad
cat.
He's sad cat face.
Oh, is that the Scottish?
This is, Gus the Scottish fold.
Oh my God, it's so cute.
So we have
show the camera.
Oh, we have Nikki the slob, Harry's the snob, because Nikki's the one we adopted. We call him the slob because he's just like a chubby house cat. Harry is the bougie one, Prince Harry. He's the snob because he'll follow you around and meow and ask for stuff. And if you go to pet him, he's like, "You can pet me with your eyes." And then we have Gus.
Oh my God, I love that
little Gus.
He is adorable.
Yeah, so
he's super cute.
I don't even know where we were going with that. What was that?
I mean, any reason to talk about pets, why not? Real quick, do we want to just recap real quick the event going on and anything else going on in your life that you want people to know about?
Yeah, sure. So WhyNotDevin, wow, I just got...
She's like, cats, oh my God.
I know, I'm like sidetracked. I have ADD terribly. The WhyNotDevin is the website. Devin's Dash is on Sunday, November 3rd. Ramiro is our amazing MC again, which we're so grateful to have him. We have amazing vendors there. House Lager, for if you drink beer or you bring gifts to any holiday party, bring Jack's Abbey House Lager because a portion of those proceeds go to WhyNotDevin. And we look for us in the spring for the marathon. And just if anyone, could spread awareness and spread kindness, we're super grateful, and we're going to continue helping families. We also help fund this nurse navigation program, and in the spring, I'm going to host a DIPG mom retreat, which I used to do before COVID, and I haven't done it since, but it's for moms who have lost a child to DIPG. And the past few years, I've hosted it at my house, and I have Reiki and cards reading and mediums and art therapy and wine. Lots of wine and food, and we just all hang out for the weekend. This year I'm hopefully going to do it somewhere else so it can be a little bit bigger and I don't have to kick out my entire family to go somewhere else, which I'm sure they would be happy to do that. But so yeah, lots of things happening. So we're on social media, follow us. Yeah.
Beautiful.
By the way, Devin's Dash is on Daylight Savings Times Day, so don't be late if you're coming.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Couple of random questions.
Yeah.
Something you wish you were better at.
Cooking.
Favorite quote.
Wow. So I'm terrible with like songs, names, artists, their names, whatever. And it's probably I am.
I am?
Anything that follows I am is what you are. So it's like the most, if you're, yeah. So if you're like tired, like don't say I'm tired because you will be tired.
Right.
Say I am happy that I can go for a walk today.
Yeah.
Or, yeah, I am.
It's funny because I saw a long time ago, I saw it or I read it. And ever since I heard about this, I watch how I talk to my kids. They said the brain processes the action. So, for example, if your kid if they're doing something and your first thought is, don't fall, don't say don't fall.
Right.
Because all they're processing is the fall. The brain is hearing fall and they're going with the action. You say something more like, be careful.
Yeah, you got this.
Take your time.
Yeah.
Things like that. So ever since then, every time I go to say something to my kids about don't do this, don't do that, I'm like, just watch where you're going. But anyway, I like that. Okay. An impactful event that shaped your life as a child.
Oh, wow. As a child, my parents, we lived in Massachusetts. My parents moved to Maine, bought this house, took the barn that was part of the house and made it into an inn. So it was a 9-bedroom bed and breakfast. And so we lived there until they got divorced and then we sold it. But it was a really cool thing to watch. Like they had this idea and they made it happen. And my brother actually 3 years ago had his wedding there, which was like my mom's dream. Her whole life was like when they bought this in, she's like, I just want one of you guys to get married here. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
What's your morning routine?
To try to get up early? No. I get up, I do listen to The Calm, which is Jay Shetty. He does like 7.
Oh, yeah. I know Jay Shetty, yeah.
I read a very positive text that I get every morning too.
She's on the list?
Yes, I'm on the list. Yes. I love it.
To be honest, he's on the list too.
Yeah, I love it. It's my favorite. It's my first text that I get. So I'm always like, okay, good. And then I just like my coffee. I've been drinking this mushroom coffee. I have ADD. I'm out of it. But it's supposed to be not mushroom like the psychedelic.
Is
it's
it like lion's mane?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And I really think it helps. And I actually really enjoy it now. So, and I try to do exercise in the morning.
Okay.
So that wasn't really like a good list. You just asked me that. And none of that was a routine. Those are just different things that I like to do in the morning.
No, everybody has their morning. I'm always interested in everyone's morning routine. Can I just tell you guys? Hold on. You guys are just part of.
I know how many people.
I was going to ask that
3, 4, 5.
I thought it was mean as kids. I'm not going to lie. I really thought it was mean as kids.
10, 11. Only 12.
Really?
12 people.
Wow.
On the list. Yep.
I figured you sent it out to like hundreds.
No, I have. I don't talk about it to anybody. Whenever I mention it, someone will say like, "Oh, put me on the list." And I remember a couple of times some people would get because I send it early. I send it like at 5 o'clock in the morning. I've had people complain to me about it, and I'm like, "Well, you want to choose what time you get the damn text now?" I'm like, "I'll take you off this damn list if it's bothering you to get a text. Shut your phone off."
It's like I love it. It's like the best thing to see first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, "Yes."
Well, the thing you'll notice is they all it's all different quotes, but there's really just like a few of the same themes said in different ways. And it's all a different, sometimes I'll send you stuff that it'll be like philosophers from back in the day. It might be something from like it might not be a Bible quote, but it'll be like a religious type of quote, or just something that, sometimes I'll send something that I'll see like a famous person said, but they're all they all fall into the same bucket. And the bucket is, for the most part, life is going to life you. It's all in how you react to it.
Yeah.
The cards you're dealt are the cards you're dealt. How are you going to play them?
That's my other favorite quote too.
Yeah.
It's not in what happens to you, it's how you react.
Yeah. The ones I always say
change.
to my older kids, that, I mean, my son was like, we got to get this tattoo because it's all you ever say to us. I always say, keep moving forward. And I'm like, because no matter what happens in life, something good happening, great, keep moving forward. Something bad happened, sucks, keep moving forward. The thing is the thing.
Did you hear me say that?
Huh?
Did you hear me say that earlier when we were talking?
Keep moving forward?
I say you only move forward. You don't move on.
Oh, yes. Yeah,
you move
exactly.
forward with
it's
everything.
True.
Yeah.
But it's true because the thing that happens is the thing. Then you, however you filter it, you're the one that says it's good or bad. And then, okay, this is my starting point. Just keep it moving. That's where I am. Where I suck is when there's things hanging up in the air that are completely out of my control, and they're kind of like they haven't been almost. There hasn't been a conclusion to it.
Yeah.
That's when I suck at stuff because I'm just like, hey, whether the thing ends up being good or bad, just give it to me now, so I'll know what my new starting point is.
But you got to trust that journey. That's my other thing, because now this is one of the things I had on my shirt, because the same thing, like Devin, we could have taken to the hospital that Friday night, and my ex and I actually had an argument over it because I wanted to take him because I was like, I want to just make sure he's fine. We didn't, so we had that weekend of not knowing.
Yeah.
So you just gotta it's all gonna work when it's supposed to, and you have to trust. You have to trust it.
Yeah.
And some days I'll complain to you on a Friday, and I'll get a quote Monday morning. Complaining is the thief of this, and I'm like,
noted.
That felt a little. I wonder if he sent that to anyone else.
My favorite is when somebody like hits me back with like a little reaction, because I almost feel like that's them saying like, oh, I needed this one today.
Yeah, I do that sometimes too.
You do, yeah. You do, and that's what I like it, because you don't do it all the time.
Yeah.
You don't do it all the time. You do it a lot, but you don't do it all the time. And it's like, I'm like, okay, if they're giving it to me just like inconsistently, that to me means more, because it's like, you could tell it's almost like, oh, damn.
Yeah.
I needed to read this today, you know? So
it's my acknowledgement, so you know I read it. I don't want you to think I don't read your stuff.
Not the little red thing at the bottom.
Yeah, I just know.
That's
just gave
acknowledgement.
it like an exclamation point or like a heart.
Yeah.
So like, that's how you know.
I could tell because it's like one or the other. Yeah. I'm like, oh, he really liked this one. He only read this one, exclamation point. It's like,
you noticed that now?
Yeah, because a thumbs up is disrespectful.
I actually don't like that either.
Me either.
I'm like, that doesn't feel very good, the thumbs up. Like, all right.
This is your way of saying, all right, can we end this conversation now?
Yeah.
And then sometimes when I don't say anything to the text, you're like, nah, whatever. Yeah. Anyways, though, you were awesome.
Yes.
Really, I'm going to come on November 3rd. If he's emceeing,
yes.
I'll definitely be there.
It's so fun. You'll have so much fun. It's a great, great day. Hopefully it'll be sunny and beautiful. But thank you so much for having me.
Yeah,
this was a lot of fun. And I love chatting with the both of you. So I'll return anytime you'd like.
Yes.
We'll do it again.
Anytime you're welcome.
Thank you, Christine.
Thank you.